Guttentag, or however you say hello in your language, and today I'm going to be showing you some outdoor design ideas that I have. Now, please keep in mind that this will not be a block-by-block tutorial, but instead I will be showing you some of my thoughts when I'm building this kind of thing. Now let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing we have are some basic things that you can do in your Minecraft world. For example, you can include custom trees, and you can also include some elevated lanterns in order to give some light into your build instead of just using regular torches on the ground. I also suggest that you use plant pots with a very specifically colored flower in order to improve upon your color palette. If you're interested, I also have a path tutorial on a different video, and I'd suggest that you check that out if you're curious on how I build paths like this. Anyway, moving on, we have a planter garden. Now, I decided to use these trapdoors in conjunction with these coarse dirt in order to make it look like some fertile soil that these flowers have been carefully planted in. In order to add a little bit of character and story into your build, I suggest that you include a planter's workbench in order to make it seem like it's a work in progress and it's not completely complete, because after all, you're never done with stuff like that. I suggest when building this that you use biome-themed plants. For example, I decided to use the bamboo, and you can stop the bamboo from growing by placing some string on it. And I decided to use this lilac plants because I think that it complements the light green in the bamboo plants. I also decided to use some jungle leaves to add a little bit of variation from the oak that's used in the trees that are scattered around here. Now, I suggest that you do not go overboard with the undergrowth and the plants that you decide to put into the surrounding area. For example, I did not use all of the available blocks here and place bamboo on it, because it just looks way too busy, and you don't want to make everything too busy, because otherwise it won't make sense to your eye. Alright, now let's move on to some of the bushes that I did. Now again, I'd like to elaborate that you want to choose flowers that are specific to your color palette and blend in well with your environment. Speaking of things like that, you can also incorporate some human-made elements. Like, for example, we have a nice little rope swing here. I decided to use iron bars, but if you have access to 1.16, I recommend that you use the chain blocks that are introduced in order to make it look like it's an actual swing. Now, moving on, we also have a lovely pond feature. Water features in general just make the area you're in just seem much more alive, and you can also use the slabs and stairs in order to make some rock features like what you see here. You mainly just want to experiment as much as you can in order to get the right rock assortment that you want to have. Now, to give the pond a little bit more life, I opted to include some of the tube coral fans and some sea pickles in the bottom in order to give off not only light, but also a little bit of plant life into this. You can also add a little bit more character by adding some benches like what you see here, using the slabs and the trapdoors. And as always, you can include these lovely, beautiful trees that you see right here. Now, let's move on to the next bit. Now, adding on to human-made structures, you can also include things like a well, things that humans have generally needed to survive. And you can use flower pots in order to make it look like the bucket, because Minecraft does not have placeable buckets. You can also add some sort of gathering place where people like to come and just hang out. Now, I decided to go for a patio and using the spruce trapdoors in order to make it look like strips of wood that people have used in order to build this deck. In order to give a little bit more life into this, I also used the trick with the pressure plate and the item frame in order to make it look like it's just sitting there on some sort of cutting board. To give an interesting reference point up above, I decided to put some stringed banners up top, and I think this just really helps bring together the happiness of a situation that could have occurred here. Now, when it comes to the bushes that surround this area, I suggest that you use some vines in order to give a little bit more variance among the shrubs that you see here, and to keep them from spreading out of control, you can always incorporate some string to keep them contained, and you can do this along multiple points along this wall in order to make it look a little bit more interesting. It's kind of hard to see, but your eye definitely does pick up where the vines are. Now let's move on to the biome-themed area. Now, when doing this, you might want to take into account the biome that you're currently building in, and think about what kinds of plants you would want to have in that general area. for here, I decided to make like a mushroom-type forest. Now, I used the red mushroom blocks atop the end rods in order to make a mushroom with a glowing stem. And now this kind of gives like an enchanted forest feeling. Now when making some undergrowth, I suggest that you use just one dark oak sapling in an area because they need 4 of them to grow. So you can just use one and it makes it look like a smaller bush. The points of interest I have are the red mushroom and the giant willow tree I have here. Continuing on the more natural side of this tutorial, you may also decide to use some of the leaves that you see here as a sort of like bush and overgrowth. You can just scatter the leaves wherever you see fit. However, I do recommend that you do not go overboard. If you're trying to build an enchanted forest type feeling, I suggest that you use podzol and some coarse dirt in order to make it look like this kind of overgrown type of feel. It's kind of hard to explain, but it does make sense as you can see here. Now, please note that this does take a lot of practice, and if you'd like me to do another video on how to do some undergrowth and like how to liven up the natural side of your Minecraft world, please let me know. And we'll move on to the final point I have here, which is to add some sort of remnant of some sort of civilization. Now, this is a great opportunity to provide some sort of story into your Minecraft builds. You can make it look overgrown with the use of the leaves and the vines that you see here. Again, you can keep them contained with string, and you might want to sparingly use some bone meal in order to create these 2 tall plants. Alright, so basically to summarize, some things you want to keep in mind when decorating your Minecraft worlds are things like points of interest, your color palette, what kind of story do you want to convey, what civilizations were there, what kinds of activities would you enjoy if you were in that area. After all, it is your own Minecraft world. If you'd like me to do a video on basically anything regarding building or decorating, please let me know. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Bye! Flubberkin definitely did not feature in this video. Right, Flubberkin?
I was never there.
Of course he was not. Nope,
Not there. Nope, not at all.
If you saw him, your eyes were clearly deceiving you.
Yes, he wasn't there. Don't know who was. Must be an imposter or something.
Oh, yeah. We get them from time to time.
It is entirely possible.
Yeah. Alright, so after we finish that, Flubberkin decided to give himself like 1,000,000 speed potions and lagged out the game.
You mean the Flubberkin that wasn't there?
Yes, a Flubberkin who was definitely not there, definitely lagged out the game. Oh well.
It was funny. Note to self, never do 5,000 potions at once. Doesn't work.
Yeah.